Well, hi guys, it's that time. It's our Bible teaching snippet of the day. I'm going to pick up in Revelation chapter 21, verse 8, and I'm going to add to and stack on top of something I've already been talking about as far as the lake of fire that burns with fire and sulfur, and sometimes it's translated as brimstone. And I'm going to continue here, and just because these few little verses really has made people believe that God the Father, whose love never ends, right, and his mercy endures forever, is actually going to, when people die, people believe this, that once they die, it's over and done, and now God becomes this cold-hearted, get-even, mean, torture people in a pit of fire forever and ever without any end to it. And I've already covered that the word forever in those different translations does not mean in the Greek the word forever or never ending. I probably need to do one more teaching on that because I want to show you what the Greek words are that means never ending or without end, so you can understand the difference in aeon and aeonius. I need to do that as a wrap up at some point on these teachings. But the word forever actually means for an age or a time period, okay? So today I want to read you Revelation 21:8, and here we go. It says, "But for the fearful and unbelieving, the abominable and murderers, whoremongers, sorcerers, idolaters," and watch this, "and liars." Can I just take a side trail here and ask you how many people you know, including holding the mirror up to your face, people who have never lied? Okay, I'm just saying. "And all, A-L-L, all liars, shall have their place in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone." And again, that word brimstone means sulfur, which is the second death. And I need to do a teaching on the second death. See, these verses all have meanings, but we don't understand them, right? So let me, and I'm not claiming that I have all truth in this. I'm saying that I've studied it enough that I have been able to understand that we've been mistaught that this lake of fire is not hell where people are thrown by Jesus for them to burn and burn and burn forever and ever in torment with no end. That is absolutely not what the book of Revelation is trying to teach right here, okay? So let's go ahead and talk about the lake of fire and brimstone signifies a fire burning with brimstone. The word brimstone or sulfur describes the character of the fire. And I talked a little about that because it means divinity. So let me keep reading here. It means divine, okay? It's the kind, it's trying to show you what it means, what type of fire, okay? And it says sulfur was sacred to the deity among the ancient Greeks and was used to fumigate, to purify, and to cleanse, and to consecrate to deity. For this purpose, they burned it in their incense. In Homer's Iliad, okay, one is spoken of as purifying a goblet with fire and brimstone. See, and when they were purifying this goblet, the goal was not to destroy it, but to purify it. Okay, let me keep reading. The verb derived from therion is theo, which means to hallow, to make divine, and dedicate to God. Okay, any Greek or any trained in the Greek language, a lake of fire and brimstone would mean, I'm going to slow down, in the Greek language, someone that understood the Greek, the way it was written, would understand that the lake of fire and brimstone would mean a lake of divine purification. Divine purification. And that word lake actually doesn't mean like this huge, massive lake. It means more a smaller pool, actually, but that's a different teaching too. Divine purification and divine consecration are the plain meaning in the ancient Greek. In the ordinary explanation, this fundamental meaning of the word is entirely left out, but nothing eternal torment is associated with this verse. Nothing about it. Nothing, this verse does not mean eternal conscious torment, but a purification. Okay. Now, let's see what I want to add to this, because I'm trying to. Now, I did make reference to 1 Corinthians 3, 14 and 15, where Paul was talking about, and I'm going to read this today because I want to mine this out in this teaching as well. If the work which any person has built upon this foundation, capital F, meaning Jesus, survives this test. Remember, I told you that the word for that. For torment meant a testing stone. Right here, that same concept is being used by Paul. So this testing stone, okay, the works of people will be tested, and if it survives the test, he, the person, will get his reward. Verse 15. But if any person's work is burned up under the test, he will suffer the loss, okay, though he himself will be saved, and watch this, but only as one who passes through fire. See, all of this kind of connects to what the writer of Revelation, that picture that he was trying to show us. So, see, even believers, you really don't want to hear this from this Bible teacher, because we think that if we said a sinner's prayer that we got our little free ticket, right? And actually, the truth of the matter is that anything that is evil, anything that is not of God, is not going to be allowed into the new heaven and earth. Every man will be purified. Some of us will be purified right here, right now, and it will not be hard for us to go, oh, okay, Lord, this is not true. This is a lie. I'm letting go of this, and it's a very easy purification for us. For others who in name say that they are Christians, that they're believers, they think that they've said their sinner's prayer and they got this free ticket. And actually, whatever is impure that is in them, any evil and wickedness, they will be under that same touchstone, that testing, so that it will be burned away so that they can enter in to the new heaven and earth. And I've got a lot more notes made out that I really want to teach today, because I want to talk about this verse here where it talks about, when I was reading in here about the fearful and the abominable, the murderers, whoremongers, and all that, and it says their part. I have to add this in today. That word part, let me read to you what it means. So we think that it's a placemat with their name written on it, and they're going to be thrown in there with the three that we've already seen thrown in the lake of fire, right? But that's not what it's saying. It's saying portion. That Greek word right there means a portion that is due to them, and that's what I'm talking about today. Let's look at that. It says here, to get as a section or an allotment, a portion, okay? And here's the number one meaning under the Strong's. It says a part due or assigned to one. So what I'm saying to you, okay, so what we see here is that anybody that has any evil or wickedness in them has to be purified. And they have a portion allotted to them in that purification pool until the Bible makes a reference to people's robes being made white, the washing of their robes and it being made pure. And that's what this is talking about, people being made pure. Now, I'm going to stop right here. I've got some more things written out that I want to talk to you about, but I'm going to take just a real quick time out here, and I want to tell you something that Holy Spirit showed me. I was teaching this to my husband, and I said, it's kind of like right now, we're living in a temporary trailer house because our house perished in November of last year. But right now, did you know, this is bad for me to admit in public, but I will let my 5 little dogs come in, and, well, they're big dogs, actually, labs, but anyway, I think they're little because I see them as my babies. But I let them, as much as I love them, okay, I let them come in here, and they're not really clean real good, and because what I know is that this is a temporary home for me, and I'm not quite so picky about it like I was in my house before it burned. But watch, my new house is almost ready to be moved into, okay? And I was telling my husband, I said, did you know right now I let them come in. I don't brush them and get all their hair off. There's hair everywhere. I let them come in a little bit wet sometimes and lay on blankets. And I just wash the blankets. I dry them off or whatever. And there's dirt on the floor and I have to vacuum 2 or 3 times a day. But when we get moved over into our new permanent home, I'm not going to let them do that anymore. I'm going to have to purify them. I'm going to have to prepare them to live in my new heaven and earth, okay? I'm giving you an analogy now. This new heaven and earth that we're going to be living in with God, nothing defiled can enter into its gates, guys. Nothing defiled, okay? So what I'm going to do is when I move out of this temporary place that I'm not really too concerned with my 5 dogs, if they're not in perfect condition, if they got hair or dirt and they're a little muddy or they're wet, that's okay. But when I move over into my permanent dwelling place, now, well, I'm going to start brushing them again. I'm going to make sure, and you can believe when it's been raining outside and they're muddy, they're not coming in. They're not entering my gates to defile my new place. And may I give you this analogy? Did you know when the new heavens and earth, and this is getting in the end of Revelation, the new heavens and earth, even those who have said a sinner's prayer, whatever evil or wickedness that is in them, God's going to clean you up. He's going to brush you down. He's going to get all that old extra hair off of you. He's going to, and I told my husband this, I said, and you know, we're going to make sure they don't have any ticks and fleas, no mud. They're just not going to mess up this new permanent home of ours. They're going to have to go back to the way that it was prior to the house burning, because I was particular about that. Now watch this reconciliation of all things, going back to the way God intended it to be. Did you know I had a certain house that I had certain standards in, and then my standards was lowered, and now I've let my animals come in and out and just kind of, I've gone easy on them. But did you know I will do this reconciliation of all things when I move back in my new permanent home? My babies are going to have to be cleaned up, brushed, tick-free, flea-free. They're not going to be dirty or anything. And may I propose to you that this is exactly what the end of Revelation is talking about, guys. God needs us to be pure and reconciled back to who we were in Genesis chapter 1 and 2. We were made in His likeness and image, and He is going to purify all of us. And those of us who have made Him Lord, and I'll use this analogy very quickly. I've used this with my husband too. It's like this popsicle and my sweet little grandbaby. When I look at him and say, baby, give Gammy the popsicle. It's not good for you. He's going to trust me and say, okay, Gammy, you can have the popsicle. And he will hand it to, because he trusts me to be good to him and want the very best for him. Now, there's going to be other little kids that when Gammy leans down and says, give me that, that's not good for you, they're going to scream and kick and be mad and throw a fit. These are the different levels of the purification of God taking away from us the things that cannot enter into the gates of His new city. Nothing defiled will enter in, not even through His own children, okay? He has a perfect place for all of us, and He will bring us back into perfection, right? Complete restoration of all things, so He can be all in all, including us, and in His new kingdom that is called the New Jerusalem or the New Heaven and Earth in the book of Revelation, okay? So I just want you to pray about this. I know that those analogies are kind of cool, I think, because God is going to brush us down and de-tick us and de-flea us and have us all cleaned up and purify us for us to live with Him the way He intended it to be in the very beginning, guys. So I know this was a little bit different of an ending than my normal teachings, but I want to say this. I love each and every one of you, and thank you for staying with me in this very controversial and challenging teaching about the restoration of all things and setting aside the lie of hell. I love you. Bye-bye.